got to actually get in the top 10. The room to be in the conversation. Yo, what's poppin', y'all? It is your boy. It is Guardy3. And this week, normally, this is the part where I introduce the greatest co-host of all time, as I call him, Mr. Mo Betta. But Mo's currently out of town right now, so we flying solo on this one. That's all right, because I'm going to bring you the same entertainment I would if Mo was right here. But I'm excited to have him back next week. But listen, let's get this off started like we normally would. Every week we start the same way. If anybody new's listening, welcome in. And if anybody's watching, welcome in. We start off every week by talking about underrated players of the week in NBA history because we think that... Oh, welcome, Gene. You got a surprise for me? Oh, all right. I can't wait to see the surprise. Say, every week we say that there's too many players in NBA history that are a little overlooked and underrated. And this week, I decided to kind of go with an Olympic theme. So, here's my underrated player of the week. We all know about the 1992 Dream Team. But let me ask you something. Your top three scorers, we had MJ, we had Malone, and Barkley. Not in that order, by the way. Those are just the top three scorers. Can anybody name the fourth leading scorer of the Dream Team? Because you have names like Magic Johnson, you have names like Larry Bird, but what if I told you it was none of the above? Ladies and gentlemen, my underrated player of the week, because I think this dude doesn't get enough love, an original member of a big three in the 90s called Run TMC. It's Chris Mullin. A lot of people I don't think realize how great Chris Mullin was. And Chris Mullin, once again, on that 92 Dream Team, he was the guy. He was the fourth leading scorer. Which, once again, when you have a team with guys like David Robinson, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, John Stockton, Jordan, Barkley, when you have a team that's insanely loaded, I gotta say, that's impressive. And at his peak, we're talking about a 25 a game score, and he shot a nice 35% from three during that time. Now, I get it. You're like, well, Brett, that's 35%. That's average nowadays. And I like this surprise, by the way. Joining us at this time, let me get the setup here. There it is. All right. It is Mr. Wire to Wire himself, Gene Walczak. How you doing, Gene?
You know, I didn't know that if I could make it on time or be here until about 20 minutes ago. And I thought maybe you had a co-host. Maybe you had somebody that stood in for you. The moment you went live and I seen that you had nobody next to you, I'm like, it's time. Let's get it popping.
Yeah, no, that works. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'm going through my underrated player of the week. We're talking Chris Mullin this week.
Chris Mullin.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that out of everybody on that 92 Dream Team, he was the fourth leading scorer. That man in his prime was an absolute problem.
Yes, he was. Sniper. Like 7 seasons where he shot over 40% from three when that wasn't really a thing.
Right. And for a lot of people, you go look and you say, well, 38% from three from his career, that doesn't look like much nowadays. We got to remember, in the 1980s, the league average from three was 28%. In the 90s, it jumped up to 34%. So Chris Mullin was well ahead of his time. He's 4 points ahead of the league. It's about the equivalent of somebody shooting 40% being 4 points ahead of the league nowadays. So that's my underrated player of the week. It is Chris Mullin.
You know, it's funny because you brought up that 92 Dream Team. And if you ask anybody that didn't watch it or didn't follow it, who was the leading scorer on the team, they would all tell you it was Jordan. Jordan led the 92 Dream Team. They don't realize that Chuck Charles Barkley was a problem in international ball. Like that guy played harder than anyone internationally. So I guess I could say he's a little underrated himself.
Yeah, absolutely. It was Chuck, then it was Jordan, then it was Karl Malone. Charles Barkley's physicality was absolutely perfect for that international play scenario, and it showed during that 92 run. He was unstoppable.
My guy was a bully.
Now, my first topic, I wanted to talk a little about the Olympics. But there's something I wanted to bring up, and it actually involves Joel Embiid. So this might actually be perfect. Because I wanted to address the fakest outrage I may have ever seen in a while. Everybody's so triggered that Joel Embiid is playing for Team USA, going, well, he was born in Cameroon. Guys, I need us to stop this because that is dumb. Why? Where was the outrage when Karl Anthony Towns was playing for the Dominican Republic? The man was born in Edison, New Jersey. Is that in the Dominican Republic? It is not. Okay, what about Jose Alvarado? He's playing for Puerto Rico. The man was born in Brooklyn. Where's the outrage for Jose Alvarado playing for Puerto Rico? It doesn't make sense to me. So, for the love of everything holy, can we please stop this fake outrage that it's some big issue that Joel Embiid wants to play for USA? At this point, he spent just as much of his life here, if not more, in America than he did in Cameroon. He had his kid here. He has made his whole career here. So I just don't get this outrage as to why Joel Embiid playing here is such a big issue. And to me, it's absolutely insane.
You got to understand something, though, Brett. There's players where people love to hate. And when a team's as loaded as the United States is, and Joel Embiid is considered a villain to a lot of teams in the NBA, you're going to get that, right? Like Joel Embiid is the villain to some big teams in the NBA. One being the Boston Celtics, who just won the NBA championship. So you're going to get a lot of hate from New Yorkers and Boston fans because he's rivals for them. So you're going to get that outrage because two major market medias are not a fan of his. New York had their whole issues with Joel Embiid being dirty and, the extra shots he put on Mitchell Robinson and the step on the leg. So it's expected to me. It's expected to me. He had a really poor showing though last night.
He did. I think he'll bounce back. I don't think he's quite used to the level of international ball physicality, which is a lot different than USA. A lot of people getting their first taste of the Olympics, they don't call a lot of ticky-tack fouls in international ball compared to the NBA. So
Right.
there's a lot more physicality, and some guys who go over there for the first time, they don't adjust to that very well. We saw a guy like Damian Lillard in 2020, I think it was, absolutely stink up the place because he was not used to the physicality. He would try to bait for fouls, and it did not work. We saw Joel Embiid do a lot of the same thing yesterday. He'd get to the post, and instead of looking to score, he would try to draw a foul, and it would not work like it would in the NBA. So I have no doubt he'll adjust, but he will dominate in future games.
I agree. I think that the biggest game you're going to use him in is the Serbia game because he owned. Listen, the greatest player in the world, Nikola Jokic, fine. Joel Embiid, you look at his stats versus Nikola Jokic when they play against each other. Joel Embiid owns that man. I mean, he dominates that man.
Joel Embiid is like the perfect guy to attack Jokic with.
Mm-hmm.
Jokic does not deal well with somebody who's directly physical on him. He's best when you can hide him off the ball, but if you put him against somebody like Embiid who's going to bully him, Jokic is a big body, but he can be moved. Hey, what's going on, Open Ocean Ships? A little bit of a tongue twister there. But
it sounded really good the first time. Just kidding.
Right. Yeah, say we otherwise, I thought Anthony Edwards looked great though. He came in, he got brought a lot of attention to himself, saying he's the number one option. Everybody has to adjust to me, and at times really did look like the best player on the floor. Yeah, that.
Godfrey's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's say overall, that's kind of who I was most impressed by. Anthony Edwards, because right before we were talking about the Olympics on the Big Three over on Tuesdays, I was trying to figure it out. It's like, do you put Anthony Edwards in the starting lineup? Because the only reason I questioned it is I didn't know if he was ready to make sacrifices because of those comments kind of made me question if you put him with the four other guys who want to dominate the ball, if that works, put him with the bench unit where he can dominate the ball and nobody's going to have an issue with it. But I think they did it perfectly. I think bringing Anthony Edwards off the bench away from your other ball dominant guys, letting him go crazy, it worked out perfectly. And not to mention, man, he was such a dog on defense.
I'll tell you what, the second unit looked way better than the first unit yesterday.
Oh, absolutely.
Between Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum looked really well. The switching that they played with the 4 and 5 when they had Bam and AD on the court at the same time. Steve Kerr even mentioned that at the end of the third quarter, saying like the way we can switch everywhere when Bam and AD are on the court is really helping us defensively. That United States team started very slow, but that second unit was dominant.
Yeah, I really like that second unit, especially during that run with AD and Bam. That's just way too killer defensively. And overall, I think we'll see a lot more of that. If the first unit struggles, which is a very, very real chance that they start out the game slow until they find their rhythm together. So I wouldn't be shocked to see this in the next game. Not to mention, KD's going to want to hop right back into the starting lineup. So you're going to run into a situation where they're finally gelling and you add KD to the mix. Kind of throws a little bit of a wrinkle. I don't think it'll take that long to acclimate, but listen, guys, don't be shocked if the next time you see USA in the Olympics, that first unit starts out slow again. Which, by the way, that Curry to LeBron alley-oop was awesome to watch. Favorite part about the Olympics is watching all these dreams pairings that you never thought you'd see it, except unlike the All-Star game, they're actually going full bore. Watching those two go full bore and play that well off each other was so much fun. Curry starting to take over in the game to really push Canada away was absolute perfect. I'm so glad he was able to join the Olympics this time.
And for all the people that were really bad-mouthing Jrue Holiday, I think he proved to you yesterday exactly why he's so valuable on that team.
I think a lot of people, I got called crazy because I said Jrue Holiday not only was the right choice, but I said Jrue Holiday should start. Just because he's like the perfect complement with 4 ball dominant guys. I think Jrue Holiday's low usage on offense, willingness to do the dirty work, and elite defense, he's like the perfect complement to 4 ball dominant guys in the starting lineup. And he showed that yesterday. He played off everybody perfectly. He didn't overstep his role, and the few chances he got on offense, he shined. He had a nice little step back right at the end of the game. Scored like 5 straight by himself, and of course, there's the Curry behind the back to him with the nice finish. He just handles physicality really well. Very physical player, so he's perfect for that Olympic-style setting.
He had the second highest efficiency on the team, too, behind Ant. So his efficiency rating was number 2 on the team. I just think that Jrue Holiday proved yesterday. He had a couple block shots from the guard position that helped so much. I think he proved yesterday why you need a guy like him. And you know what? The one thing he did that I felt was very important for team, for Team USA was he really slowed down SGA and he got into his body a lot.
Yeah, no, that's fair. With Canada, that's kind of a 2-headed monster that you got to try to slow at least one of them down. And with Jamal Murray and SGA, and Jrue did awesome on SGA. He had him absolutely. He had him clamped for most of the game. SGA had a really quiet game.
Yep.
So I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see a rematch between the teams. I'm curious to see what adjustments Canada would make, and I'm excited just to see more Olympic ball from this team in the future, because we all know this is the last hurrah for all of your major stars. You're not going to see another LeBron Olympics. You're not going to see another KD Olympics. You're probably not going to see another Steph Olympics. He's probably one and done. So this is probably your last chance to see all these legends that in an Olympic setting. So We thought we were getting Kawhi Leonard, but he had to back out. Joint decision apparently from Team USA, him and the Clippers. So I found that to be interesting. It was reported that he wanted to kind of load manage between games, and Team USA didn't want that. Steve Kerr was against it, so everybody just decided it was in the best interest to send him back home, and they replaced him with Derek White.
Oh, that's becoming a nightmare in itself. And let me ask you a question about that. Do you think that had more to do with Nike than it did with the Team USA basketball? Because Grant Hill came out today and said it was a Team USA basketball decision to bring Derek White. I think it had a lot more to do with Nike than anything. You know about Jaylen Brown's tumultuous past with Nike. I think they put the kibosh on him. I really do.
No, I think Nike had a lot to do with that one. Let me say this. I think Derek White's an awesome fit for Team USA. He fits in perfectly, almost in the same thing as Jrue Holiday. But Jaylen Brown is clearly the superior player. And I really thought when I heard Kawhi Leonard was going out, it was going to be Jaylen Brown heading over there. But I was absolutely stunned to see Derek White. He's going to be a great addition. But, yeah, I think Jaylen Brown was the right move, and I think Nike definitely had something to do with that.
Chris Morrow said it perfectly. Why another guard, though? Like, he can, I agree with you 100%, Chris. They have loaded at guard. They are light at wing, especially with Kawhi Leonard out, Kevin Durant nursing that calf injury. They're light on the wing. They really are.
Don't be shocked when you see a lot of 3-guard lineups.
You're going to see Devin Booker, Anthony Edwards. You see a lot of those guys in crunch time playing the 3. What LeBron before.
Going to see some Jrue Holiday soak up some minutes at the 3 as well.
Yep, I agree.
Overall, get ready for Twitter to make the Darvin Ham 3-guard lineup jokes. It's coming. So, overall, yeah, there's so many different players. But speaking of wings, switching over to some NBA offseason news. Who? Derek White? He probably won't. He probably won't play that much.
No, I don't think he plays that much either. I think Jaylen Brown would have played. He brings great defense, and he's a wing.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking of wings, we just learned today that Brandon Ingram is at an impasse with the New Orleans Pelicans right now. It's all about the money. Brandon Ingram wants the 4-year, $208 million max that the Pelicans can offer, and the Pelicans are like, "Oh, that's a little much for us." But now the issue is his agent's been scoping around, seeing if he can find a team that's willing to pay him, and absolutely nobody's biting on it. Nobody wants to pay Brandon Ingram $208 million. Gene, what do you think about this whole Brandon Ingram situation? Do you think he stays with the Pelicans, or do you think he does end up somewhere else?
I think he'll end up somewhere else. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Zion signed a 5-year $200. And I think that when Brandon Ingram is showing up on the court and he's on the court every night and he's giving you everything you have, and you have a guy that's basically MIA for half of every season in Zion Williamson, it's tough for you to tell Brandon Ingram he doesn't deserve that money. Now, granted, he doesn't deserve that money from anybody else in the league. But if you're paying Zion Williamson 5 years, $200, you got to be paying Brandon Ingram more than that. He's on the court. He means more to that basketball team. So I think he ends up getting traded. I don't think he ends up making the money he wants to make. But if he does make that money, I think he makes it on a team that's just got a lot of cap money to throw away. Like, don't be shocked if he gets moved to the Charlotte Hornets.
That's fair. I agree. I think he ends up somewhere else. And I think that if the Pelicans do end up moving him, got to target a center. They really don't have a center right now. I know they drafted Missy in the first round, but I don't think their rookie center is going to be ready to play ball right away with a team that is probably expecting to win now. You don't pay big money to Zion, to CJ McCollum, and all these different guys without expecting some kind of at least playoff run. You can market Brandon Ingram in a smaller market. he would put up he puts up good numbers on non-contending teams, and even non-contending teams, he's put up some fine numbers.
I have a big market too. What about a Brandon Ingram for Nikola Vucevic swap with Chicago?
That could actually work because Vooch has got to be next one out. They've already moved on from DeRozan, so yeah, I could see that happening too.
Like the Bulls depth chart, I mean, and the way I see it is the Bulls kind of want to go younger and they kind of want to build. They have Patrick Williams there already. They have Jalen Smith. Both those guys can play your 4 and 5. They're both strong guys. Patrick Williams is a very, very tough 4, 6'7", little undersized, and Jalen Duran would be a Jalen Smith would be an undersized center, but he's a strong guy. And I think that at the end of the day, you can see both those guys playing the 4 and 5 for them with Brandon Ingram.
Yeah, and I think with that too, it allows the Pelicans to unlock a really fun lineup. I think their best lineup this year is going to be lineups when you go DeJounte Murray, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, when he's healthy, Zion Williamson, and what if they manage to trade him, whatever center you throw out there. I'm not saying Brandon Ingram's a bad player, but I think the fit at this point, you have DeJounte Murray who's going to dominate the ball. You have Zion Williamson who's going to want to dominate the ball. Brandon Ingram off the ball isn't necessarily the greatest player we've ever seen. He seems to get disinterested if he's off the ball too much. Whereas guys like Herb and Trey really don't mind not having the ball. So I think Trey Murphy
have CJ McCollum too.
Oh yeah, CJ McCollum. I think he's going to make a great. I think he's going to be at his best, 6-man coming off the bench, lighting up second units at this point in his career. So, speaking of DeJounte Murray, man, he decided to come on Twitter too, and he decides to talk about how it was Quinn Snyder's scheme that held him back, how he wanted to guard the best player, how you're going to see DPOY DeJounte or all defense DeJounte. Holy cow, no, you're not going to. I promise you, you're not going to. But before I get too deep into that, Gina, did you see the DeJounte Murray tweet? And if so, what do you think about him possibly returning to?
I just think DeJounte Murray now being on his 3rd team in 5 years, I think that he really needs to really just cool the Twitter fingers, let his play speak for him. And you're talking about a promising young guard that was great on the Spurs, that could have been great on the Atlanta Hawks. We all thought it was a terrible fit when he got moved there to begin with. You're probably playing the same backcourt as Trey. You're like, what are we doing here? Yeah, it's obvious it wasn't a good fit. But the way to show it's not a good fit is to go on a different team and show them what you can do with your play. It doesn't have you don't have to go on Twitter and you know what the worst part is? NBA fact checkers and NBA historians who watched your games will pull tape and be like, okay, so where's your defense on this play? What was this? How did this happen? Yeah, I've seen it. I like DeJounte too. I'm a big fan of his, like especially of his game. But wasn't a fan of it. I'm not a fan of his off the court stuff. You remember last offseason, he was the one who got in a fist fight with Paolo Banchero at the he seems to be in the news in the offseason for the wrong things. And I'm not saying that they're all his fault because I like DeJounte, but it probably was one of those things where you just thank you, Atlanta, appreciate you trading for me. Really excited to work with New Orleans and call it a day.
I agree. I think DeJounte still could return to that two-way form, but I was one of those guys. I went back when I saw that tweet, and I'm like, okay, let's go watch some DeJounte Murray defense clips. Let's figure out how much of this is scheme and how much of this is DeJounte Murray. And while Atlanta's defensive strategy leaves a lot to be desired, just as much as I could blame Atlanta, there is so much where with DeJounte Murray, he just wasn't giving the effort that he should have on certain plays. It's little things like Malachi Flynn coming around a ball screen. The man has 41 points, and DeJounte Murray's not fighting through the screen, and then he tries like a really half-ass contest. Well, guess what? It's the hottest guy in the gym. You didn't even try to get around that screen. Now it doesn't matter. The shot's already up. What are we doing here? And it's just the little things like jumping on a pump fake from Patrick Beverly with 4 seconds left, leaving your feet and letting him get into the lane for an easy floater. It's like, just keep your hand up. Make him shoot the contested three. If he pump fakes, oh well. So overall, I think with DeJounte Murray, there's a lot of things that, yes, Atlanta does not have a great defensive culture, but also he can't go fully blaming Quinn Snyder because DeJounte Murray's effort was also a huge issue in Atlanta. And I'm thinking that playing next to Herb Jones and Trey Murphy, yeah, I think that changes. I think we'll see a much better DeJounte in New Orleans. But I don't like DeJounte going out there saying, yeah, it's all this person's fault. It's Quinn Snyder. It's Trae Young. Dude, just take accountability for your mistakes too. Learn from it. Say thank you, Atlanta, and move on to New Orleans. There's no need to go trying to throw everybody else under the bus.
You look at his last year, and to think that why Greg Popovich would give up on a guy that was averaging 22, 9, and 8 in his 5th year in the NBA. So, I think that when you see him giving up on that, it kind of tells you everything that you need to know. When have you ever seen Pop give up on a 22, 9, and 8 guy that was young, no old legs, no issues, but they gave up on him and they traded him to Atlanta, and his assist numbers went down. Obviously, his rebound numbers went down, and the rebound numbers should not have dropped. I can understand the assist numbers dropping, but his rebound numbers significantly dropped. His 2 years in Atlanta. I'm interested to see what he does in New Orleans.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, let's just show me on the court next year. I don't need to hear from you again on Twitter.
Yep.
I just watched Malachi Flynn drop 50 on you. I don't need to hear anymore. Just show me next year. And I also kind of looping back to the Olympics here because I also wanted to talk about Cooper Flagg. We all saw the highlights of him balling out against Team USA. Almost brought his team to a comeback against Team USA. His team only lost by 1, 74-73 final score. Scrimmage. I just wanted to point out, he can do it all. He's got great vision. He was breaking down everybody off the dribble. He was backing down Drew Holiday. If nobody understands how strong Drew Holiday is, we've seen him stonewall 7-foot centers. Like, they can't move him. But I watched Cooper Flagg. He was actually able to move him and back him down and make the right reads. He just going over Bam and AD with the layups. Like, he's got the athleticism. He's got all the tools to be an absolute generational prospect. I am so excited to see where Cooper Flagg ends up next year.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely the class of 2025. He's better than anybody in this draft already. So this draft that just happened right now, I would take Cooper Flagg over any person that was just drafted. No doubt in my mind. So the kid's going to be the prize of the draft. You're going to see him play a full year at Duke. I think his NBA comp is so similar to what Scottie Pippen did. I cannot wait to watch what Cooper Flagg does at the next level.
Yeah, speaking of this draft, I could not believe it. Also, I just want to say, can we stop trying to farm engagements using Bronny?
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing some of the most insane takes. So I go on TikTok. A group by the name of the Players' Choice Podcast, they sometimes jump the shark on these takes. Somebody comes on there and goes, Bronny James has the exact bag of other guys' size, proceeds to name Jamal Murray, Kyrie Irving. And I'm like, excuse me, what? What? He's like, he can get into the lane, he can play make. And I'm just like, dude, what are you talking about? He's nothing like any of those guys you mentioned. If he was anything, had any of the skills that like Kyrie Irving or Jamal Murray had, he'd be the number 1 pick in the draft. Even a young rookie coming out of Duke, Kyrie Irving, was clearly the number 1 pick in the draft. That's how advanced his shot making was coming right out of college. So that version of Bronny that you're quote unquote talking about, that would have been the number 1 pick, but he wasn't. He was the 55th pick for a reason. It's driving me up a wall when I come up and I see that, because it's like, dude, you are setting Bronny up to fail, because now you're just raising expectations for people maybe people don't watch Bronny play. Maybe they just see the podcast. Maybe they just see that, and now they're expecting some shot creating wizard from Bronny, and that's just not him. So can we please just slow down on the Bronny hot takes and let Bronny develop his own career at this point?
I think that, Brett, you're absolutely right about the Bronny hot takes, but with that same regard, you're also right. Where it's when you have a player that's that polarizing, I think Caitlin Clark, there's going to be people that are way, 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 way on the left side, and there's going to be people way, way, way on the right side. Bronny James doesn't deserve to be on a basketball court. Bronny James shouldn't have ever been drafted, which he might not should have been, but Bronny James doesn't deserve to be an NBA prospect. He was a top 10 prospect coming out of high school. So, like, there's been takes on both sides of the fence that have been embarrassing and bad. What I look at him as is a defensive specialist that can lock down a guard and when your starting point guard is off the court. I don't ever want him running my offense. I don't want him taking more than 4 to 5 shots per game. I want him to be a defensive specialist against small guards. You're playing the Oklahoma City Thunder. I want Bronny James in there taking minutes and giving, D'Angelo Russell a break and being able to stick Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I want that. That's the best you can hope for him to give you 15 defensive minutes a night for the first 2 years in the NBA. Other than that, Bronny James isn't ready for the NBA yet. He came out a year too early. There's no doubt in anyone's mind. He had heart issues in the beginning of last year. I don't want it to be over-exaggerate either way. Whether that be Bronny doesn't deserve to be on a basketball court versus Bronny James next Jamal Murray. His offensive bag is the worst in the NBA. It's not even close. He is the worst offensive bag in the NBA. But his defense could be very similar to a Davion Mitchell type player.
Yeah, I agree with that because when I was making player comps for Bronny, I said my best player comp I can think of right now. I think he could be like a DeAnthony Melton style defensive specialist, come in, get some steals, disrupt the passing lanes, hit some catch and shoots, and that's really all I expect from him. I don't really expect much more than that. I don't see him ever becoming in like a superstar, even like a fringe all-star. I don't even see him. I think at his best, maybe if he continues to work at it, maybe at his best he can become like a Marcus Smart kind of player, which there's no shame in that. That's POY. But yeah, I agree. I just get tired when I go look for like intelligent sports takes or some great sports discussion. It's just, Bronny James or Caitlin Clark, and that whole Rookie of the Year race is just another mess. That I'm kind of on the same thing with that too. I'm just like, dude, just make a good argument, man. I see people like making the argument that, well, Angel Reese is the Rookie of the Year because she has more rebounds. Well, I hope so. She's a 6'4" power forward against a 6-foot guard. And I'll go to the other side. Well, Caitlin Clark's a better three-point shooter. I hope so. She's a 6-foot guard who specializes in three-pointers. Moral of the story, can we please start making intelligent arguments with facts to back it up rather than just farm engagements?
Why do we need to have facts? I watched somebody yesterday compare Caitlin Clark's push-off situation that she had versus the Mystics to what Kennedy Carter did to Caitlin Clark. Like, are we serious when we're talking about this? This is the same. Like, if you don't like somebody, you'll find reasons to argue against them. If you like somebody, you'll find reasons to argue for them. What Brett is asking and what I would love is just more people arguing factual basketball, statistical basketball, and what's actually happened on the basketball court. And for Bronny James, it's defensive special. Like, honestly, I think his career could really mimic one of a Bruce Bowen. I believe that he can mimic that type of career. If you remember, Bruce Bowen was a 76er.
Yeah. Yeah, you said it perfectly. That was one of the big reasons that wanted to create And One. That's one of my most mission statements is let's bring intelligent basketball conversations back to the mainstream. So that is why every time I see a take like that, it just boils my blood. I'm like, no, this is not what we should be talking about.
Yeah, and Bruce Bowen had a very good career. with the San Antonio Spurs, and he never averaged 10 points per game. Never. And that's the best thing you can look for with a Bronny James is you can see him play a bunch of games and not average. Yeah, I think that you can see it a bunch of games not averaging 10 points, but really kind of locking down the best offensive guard, smaller guard on the lineup. When they're playing Anthony Edwards, Bronny James can give you minutes to be able to not stop him, but slow him down when you need to pull somebody off the court.
Yeah, absolutely. Like he can be one of the most impactful players on the court. And what a lot of people don't understand is you don't need to score a lot of points to be impactful. That can be in the form of taking charges. It could just be playing great defense. I'll use a great example. People don't understand how impactful Andre Iguodala was in 2015 against LeBron. They go, well, he averaged 35 a game. Correct, but he also shot like 40%. Like he was well below what LeBron James normally shoots when guarded by Iguodala. Next closest defender, he was shooting much better against. Even against Green, he was cooking him compared to Iggy. So if he can be a Bruce Bowen, that'd be perfect. Bruce Bowen was an absolute menace, and he was that way throughout his entire career, even all the way up until the end. He was huge guarding LeBron in 07 in that finals. He was the primary defender, and he did great against him, which is kind of wild to think that you would think that a young 20-something LeBron would have his way with an older, like 34, 35-year-old Bruce Bowen, but that was not the case. Forced him into a lot of tough middies or just funneled them right into Tim Duncan, and he struggled hard.
Bruce Bowen also had an incredible basketball IQ, which I can only assume that Bronny James will have given his lineage.
Yeah, that's something that's hard to measure, but yeah, that's overall too. Like Bronny made a lot of great plays on defense. Like he's made some high IQ plays on defense, and he showed some flashes on offense, like cutting to the right spot, getting to the right spots, and he put up a lot of good looks. They just didn't fall.
Yeah.
Showed me is he can very well be that high IQ, intelligent, productive role player, and that will be awesome. I'm excited. And I'm excited to relive and do this exact same song and dance in a couple of years when Bryce comes to the NBA, because I'm sure the whole cycle starts again.
It's a totally different song and dance there, though. Bryce James has the ability to be a superstar.
Yeah,
that's totally different. Like Bryce James has the ability to be a multiple-time All-Star. That's his trajectory. He has the ability that Bronny does not.
Yeah, that's what I told Mo when they were talking about Bryce. I was like, we're going to do the same song and dance, except Bryce is much better than Bronny, so his expectations are going to be
Bryce is 6'6". It's a little different.
Yeah, no, those expectations are going to be through the absolute roof. But I wanted to have a little fun, Gene. So I'm going to tie this in with an announcement because I'm going to do the basic way. A little bit boring, but next Tuesday, starting at 8:15 on Wire to Wire, we're going to be talking professional wrestling. That's right. We're bringing the Meaty Boys podcast to Wire to Wire, and we're going to give you all the scoop for professional wrestling. But it got me thinking, what if we had a little fun? What if I gave you one of my dream wrestling cards, but using NBA players? So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just got a little fun here. I'm going to give you a couple of dream matches. I would love to see two basketball players in their prime step into a WWE ring and solve it. So, you can tell me how I do. First off, my opening match, my great idea. Tyrese Halliburton versus Jalen Brunson. They already squared off. I need some high energy match to start off my event here of NBA players. So, give me the Pacers-Knicks rivalry. Give me Halliburton and Brunson.
I don't dislike that one at all. I think Halliburton has a severe size advantage, but that's not always the case. Rey Mysterio Jr. is one of those guys that can 100%, upset a guy that's bigger than him. I think Halliburton would have the clear-cut advantage, though, in that match.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He'd definitely have the advantage. Of course, This next one, I went back to the past because it was just too good to pass up. But we have another guy who has been in a WCW ring, Dennis Rodman, NWO member. And I think there's only one man we're going to put him up against. So, ladies and gentlemen, up next in my NBA Pro Wrestling crossover, I'm booking Draymond Green versus Dennis Rodman, one-on-one, two hotheads from two of the most dominant dynasties in the NBA, one-on-one.
I need a no-holds-barred match, no DQs. I need Draymond to be able to kick him in the nuts, and I need Dennis Rodman to be able to do anything he wants to do. I don't know. You should make it a triple threat match and add your boy Ron Artest.
Ooh.
Little meta world peace, triple threat action.
I said they'll be fighting one-on-one. Ron Artest is just fighting people in the stands. Got Malice at the Palace 2.0 going on over here.
If you could guarantee me every NBA game would end that way, I would have league pass.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That would be some prime entertainment.
I'd have season tickets.
And next, it's a little bit of a size advantage, so I'm gonna help them out. I got a handicap match, a little 2-on-1 handicap match here, but we need to solve this beef. We got the Morris brothers versus Nikola Jokic in a 2-on-1 handicap match. Markieff got beef with Jokic for that little altercation a couple years ago. Let's solve it. 2-on-1 handicap match.
I don't know about that. Nikola Jokic got some very, very big brothers, and I think they'll be ringside. I think that his two brothers will be ringside and be ready to throw hands. I think Markieff and Marcus Morris are going to need a lot more than you need to ban them from ringside if you think that the Morris brothers are going to have a chance. I'm going to go with Jokic with the brothers' interference.
You know what? That's honestly the exact way I would probably book it too. But maybe one of the most underrated feuds in NBA history that a lot of people do not mention is going to lead up to my main event. We have Matt Barnes versus Derek Fisher.
Oh my God, this is a real feud. That's a
If
real
anybody-
feud.
Yeah, I think it was Matt Barnes wanted to drive like halfway across the country to go fight D Fish over a girl. It was
his wife.
Personal.
Eric
Yeah, he's
Fisher
his
was
wife.
sleeping
Yeah.
with Matt Barnes' wife, and Matt Barnes drove 3.5 hours down during the NBA season to his old house with Derek Fisher in the house. It was a very, very crazy. That's a real beef right there. And I'll tell you this, Matt Barnes is not one to be played with. He might be skinny and lanky. Matt Barnes is definitely winning that match. That's the old Edge versus Finn Balor. That's what that is.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'd go Matt Barnes too. That man was tough. There's fake tough guys. Matt Barnes was not one. That man was just tough. And I know what main event. You know what? I had to add the GOAT. We have Michael Jordan, and we all know there's somebody that would love to get some aggression out on this man because 20 years later he can't stop talking about him. So let's settle this. Let's let him get some aggression out. Let's get Isaiah Thomas versus Michael Jordan in here.
I think you have Scottie Pippen in the Michael Jordan's corner, and a heel turn might come. Might chair to the back of Michael Jordan, and I was the real star of the Chicago Bulls. You might get a little Shield Seth Rollins action.
Yeah, honestly, I think that would be perfect. That would honestly be the perfect ending. Isaiah wins thanks to interference from Scottie. We'll set up round 2. A match between MJ and Scottie Pippen.
At Bad Blood.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so excited they brought that pay-per-view back.
Yeah.
Brought back a lot of great memories.
I'm looking forward to it. I'll tell you right now, I think a couple of them you missed on. Dr. J, Julius Erving, with the choke slam over Larry Bird in a one-on-one matchup. If you remember that 83 playoff series between the 76ers and the Boston Celtics, where Dr. J put his hand around Larry Bird's throat. We can get a little choke slam from Dr. J over Larry Bird.
There was one more I thought of, but I didn't think that Rudy Tomamovich would have wanted the smoke, and that's against Kermit Washington.
Kermit Washington would kill him.
One of the most infamous incidents in NBA history, Kermit Washington punching Rudy, giving him a major head injury, keeping him out on the shelf for a long time. Got suspended for a while. So I thought about that. I was like, nah, he probably wouldn't want that smoke again.
I want to see a Charles Oakley versus Larry Johnson.
Woo! That would be fun.
Yeah, little Larry Boom Boom Johnson versus Charles the Enforcer Oakley.
Charles Oakley was never one to be trifled with.
No, especially when they tried throwing him out of the Garden. That was incredible. He had both those security guards by the throat.
Yeah, that threw me off so hard when all that stuff between the Knicks and Oakley was happening. I was like, what are we doing here?
You're right.
But yeah, I just wanted to make that announcement. We're going to be talking wrestling on Wire to Wire. The first episode, I think we're going to have Mo and we're going to have Gene. It's going to be a big 3-way conversation about wrestling. I'm really excited. If you have any NBA/WWE crossover matches that you would like to see, throw them in the comments.
I want to see that. Can't wait.
No, I'm super excited too. So, but yeah, I'd say that kind of actually wraps up all I had. I wanted to talk about Olympics, Cooper Flag.
Well, let me throw a couple more at you if you don't mind.
Yeah,
do you have a couple more minutes for me?
Yeah, go for it.
76ers re-signed Kyle Lowry today, staying in his hometown. But I do want to, on this show, because I don't know when I will be on this show, but I do want to point out something that I really, really, really love. And I know you talked about it last week with Chris Paul signing with the San Antonio Spurs. But what a lot of people missed is there's another player that is with the San Antonio Spurs that a lot of people didn't realize moved there, and that's Harrison Barnes. So I actually am making this projection now, and I want it on air. The San Antonio Spurs will not only be a playoff team, they will be a non-play-in playoff team.
Ooh, top 6.
Maybe 7. Maybe they have to do a play-in game at 7. But I think I love their lineup. Chris Paul, Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, Jeremy Sokin, and Victor Wembanyama. They have Steven Castle coming off the bench, the number 3 overall pick in the draft. I love what they're doing. And with Greg Popovich and Chris Paul's mind, they're going to win a lot of games people aren't ready for them to win.
I think the season goes one of 2 ways for them. Either they get off to a hot start, and like you said, they either make the playoffs or a high play-in seed. But I think if they get off to a slow start, I could also see Coach Pop and the Spurs maybe trying to sit Victor a couple times, kind of up your chance for that Cooper Flag sweepstakes. But I think the more realistic option, as long as he's healthy and playing, I don't think they have a shot at Cooper Flag because Victor's going to be way too good. Every team that Chris Paul goes to turns to gold. He puts them in a much better place than he did. And that's what a lot of people I don't think realize about Chris Paul. He's great at mentoring and coaching these young guys up. SGA wouldn't, I'm sure he'd still be good, but he gives a lot of credit to Chris Paul. SGA wouldn't fully be SGA without the guidance of Chris Paul for a year. And I'm thinking he probably does the same to Castle too.
I completely agree with you. And I think, you'll see Chris Paul probably playing 22 minutes a night, nothing crazy, 24 minutes a night, but he'll play a pivotal role down the stretch and in leadership for this Spurs team. I'm very, very big on the San Antonio Spurs.
And even let's say if he's not playing, if he's sitting out for load management, just having a mind like that on your bench is so huge. Having somebody that if Castle makes a mistake can come over to the side and Chris Paul walks him through what he did and help him develop.
Another topic I wanted to bring up quickly is, I know we kind of touched on it a little bit, but I want to get your take on it. I want to get your opinion. Right now, who's your rookie of the year in WNBA?
Who's my rookie of the year?
Yes, who's yours?
I like what both of them are doing, but I like what Caitlin Clark's doing. I think the impact that she's had to an Indiana Fever team that's been the worst in the league for 2 years in a row at this point is just kind of undeniable. And it's not what happens, what she does with the ball. She's got things to clean up, but it's also kind of the effect she's having even when she doesn't have it. You have them picking her up 94 feet. They're picking her up. Sometimes they're even doubling her right at half. Just her being on the court is just opening up a lot of different actions for just her teammates. And that's something that the stats won't reach. That's something that you're not going to see somebody go, well, look at how many double teams Caitlin Clark drew. But just watching her play, just the level of attention that she's drawing is absolutely insane. And no disrespect to Angel Reese, she's been phenomenal. Her rebounding has been instrumental, and she's been awesome. But I don't think that she's been Caitlin Clark level impactful.
I do want to make a public apology. I want to give Christy Sides all the credit in the world. And it's the head coach of the Indiana Fever. And what I mean by that is I have Caitlin Clark's stats here, and I pulled them up, her game log, and there's something that happened in her WNBA career. And I'm going to read them off to you. And I just want to read off points, rebounds, assists. And I want you to kind of understand when it happened, right? And you'll really see it. You'll really feel it and see it. She had 20 points, 3 assists, 2 steals in her opening game loss to Connecticut Sun. 9 points, 6 assists versus the Liberty. 22-8 versus the Liberty. 17-5, 21-7, 11-8, 8-7, 30-6 versus LA. 20-9, 11-6, 3-5 in her low when the New York Liberty absolutely destroyed them on June 2nd. And I personally think that after the Connecticut Sun game on June 10th, that they came up with a new game plan for what Caitlin Clark is going to be doing in the WNBA. And I want to read you some stats from there. 23-9-8, 18-12-6, 16-7-4, 17 points, 13 assists, 6 rebounds, 15 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, 15 points, 12 assists, 9 rebounds. That was the game where she just missed a triple-double versus Diana Taurasi, beating Phoenix in Phoenix. 13 points, 11 assists, 6 rebounds. Down to triple-double game with the win over New York Liberty. 19 points, 13 assists, 12 rebounds. And then her latest game versus Washington. 29 points, 13 assists, 5 rebounds, 5 steals, and 3 block shots. Caitlin Clark should win WNBA Rookie of the Year. But I want to give credit to the game plan that they changed, realizing she was being picked up the entire court. She was being trapped as soon as she came across half court. And I'm telling you right now that it happened right after that blowout game versus the Sun. They won 5 straight games, and you can see a huge difference in the way Caitlin Clark was playing basketball. Want to give all the credit where credit's due. Angel Reese has looked great, double-double machine. But the last 2 games, she is 100% stat padded to add to that double-double, which is unnecessary. And it really kind of takes away from some of the success that she's had. And nothing against Angel Reese. I love the way she plays basketball. But she's got that Napoleon complex when it comes to Caitlin Clark. And it's me too. It's me too being involved. And then last but not least, and this is just my little rant, can we stop making Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese about race? I'm supporting Angel Reese because she's Black and I support Black women. I'm supporting Caitlin Clark because she's the great white hope. The only reason you're saying Caitlin Clark is Rookie of the Year is because she's white. The only reason you're saying Angel Reese is this good is because she's Black. Stop making this about race. These are 2 good basketball players playing great basketball that play different positions. Want to talk about intelligent basketball conversation? Let's talk about it. But let's talk about it in the sense that who's playing better basketball. And then last but not least, Monica McNutt, her comments about winning. Look, I love Monica McNutt, but her comments about winning and my vote's going to go for who has the best record is absurd. Because last year the Fever were the worst team in the WNBA, and the Chicago Sky, you guessed it, they finished 2 games under 500 and in the 7 seed. Where are they at right now? 3 games under 500 and in the 7 seed. They didn't improve at all from last year. They were a playoff team last year. Do you forget that?
That was my first reaction when Monica McNutt said that too. She comes up and said, yeah, whoever's in the playoffs with the better record, like the Chicago Sky have been a playoff team every year since 2019.
Yep.
Like they've been to 5 years in a row. Like I'm supposed to be moved because she made a playoff team a playoff team? Like the only way I would have been moved by the playoffs is if Angel Reese and crew came in and they moved them from like the 8th seed to like the 1 seed, and it was clearly because of them. But once it comes down to what impact are you having? And I think Angel Reese has been phenomenal. She has things you can't teach. Her motor, her hustle, her rebound, she has just heart. And the way she plays the game are just things you cannot teach. That being said, I think it's clear as day who the more impactful rookie is this year. And
100%.
it's Caitlin Clark.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Who's going to be
I just wanted to get your opinion on that. And ESPN has their rookie rankings, and they have Angel Reese ranked 1 and Caitlin Clark 2. And I just think that's a lot of clickbait. I really do. But, you know, second straight game, Angel Reese was 5 for 17, got 10 points, 10 rebounds exactly. After having 9 points and being able to 9 points and being able to ask for the ball with 6 seconds left in a game that was over to draw a foul to get her 10th and 11th point. That was it just felt bad.
Right. And at the end of the day, it's things like that. They don't really matter to people who, like, we saw situations like that play out. We saw situations like people being 1 assist away or 1 basket away from continuing a streak, and they pass them up. I think the most infamous story we've seen is Kobe told the story where he had, like, I think it was 7 straight games of 40 points, but Shaq started to get disinterested, and he had a game where it was against the Clippers. He was at like 32 points, and he could have easily went on a run to get to his 40, but instead he started feeding Shaq.
Finished with 39.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, what really matters is get your teammates involved, winning.
Can I answer this question that's on the screen?
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to tell you something right now. Andre, I love the question. I think that Sarr is the better overall player throughout his career. I think Risacher signed in a way better situation in Atlanta. I think he'll be impactful day one with Trae Young, especially receiving lobs and things of that nature. But I think that Sarr is the better player.
No, I agree with that. I think Sarr is going to have a phenomenal career. He just ended up in a pretty rough spot, which I found odd that he refused to work out for Atlanta and seemingly didn't want to play in Atlanta. Even though I get it, Trae Young's a very polarizing figure to play with, but playing with a polarizing figure like Trae Young, who in all reality, somebody like Sarr, whose offensive game is kind of his question mark that needs to develop, somebody like Trae Young dominating the ball and minimizing what Sarr has to do on the ball it sounds like it would almost be perfect for him at this stage in his career, but
I agree.
He didn't want to go play with him. By the way, and also when we're talking about rookies, don't be shocked if, I'm telling you, I saw people give him a D for this draft pick. Don't be shocked when Zach Edey plays well enough, he starts forcing his way into this conversation.
I don't think this is the rookie of the year conversation.
Yeah, no. I just wanted to throw that out there because when it came to that grade, I thought it was wild. But then I watched Zach Edey play, and I'm imagining his fit with like Ja. It's absolutely picture perfect. So I'm saying it right now. Don't be shocked when that guy that Yahoo decided to give a D for drafting because it was a quote unquote reach ends up arguably being rookie of the year and the best rookie this year. Because I think
it's funny. It's funny you say that. I want to ask you a question. I'm not sure if you looked at this or not, but do you know what the rookie of the year odds are? Have you looked at it?
I have not.
Okay, so let's play a game. Let's see how you do what, and you can pick a sports book, whatever one you want. DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, Caesars, or Bet365. Pick one, and we'll go by theirs.
All right, I'll do FanDuel.
Okay, I have FanDuel Sportsbook odds up right in front of me. The Rookie of the Year favorite is who? At plus 650.
Plus 650. Ooh, okay. I'll go with I'll get Sarr.
That's correct. Alexander Sarr is the Rookie of the Year favorite. Who is the second favorite for Rookie of the Year?
I really feel like they're going to go with the one pick. Give me Rasheer.
No, that is incorrect. He is number 3. You want to take another shot at number 2?
Okay. Number 2, Donovan Klingon.
Nope.
Madden. Oh.
I'll stop telling you where they're at this point because I want to see how you do here. I'll give you a hint. No, he's close. I'll give you a hint. The reason I pulled this up is because of the conversation we're having.
Zach Edey?
Zach Edey. He's number 2 for Rookie of the Year odds. Third is Zachariah Risacher. Fourth is Dalton Knecht. Fifth is a tie between, I think, are the 2 best rookies in this class, and Stephen Castle and Reed Sheppard. I think those are the best 2 rookies in this class. I think in 5 years, when you're looking at this class, you're going to say Stephen Castle and Reed Sheppard will be the best 2 rookies in this class.
Yeah, I'm high on Castle. I can absolutely see that. I'm also high on Sheppard. I think even if he's not the best rookie in this class, I also could see that man having the longest career.
Yep.
His play style just translates perfectly to a long career. I think he said Knecht was 4 for Rookie of the Year.
He is number 4.
But I like Reed Sheppard. He's got an all-time great 3-point shot in college. If anybody doesn't know, I think he was at 52% on threes at the collegiate level. This man cannot miss. And he has a 40-inch vertical, so it's not like he's just a Kyle Korver ground-bound kind of player. He can get up. He's got some explosiveness to him. And it ain't sneaky athleticism. That dude's just athletic.
I also want to throw this out there because I really believe that there's value in it. If you ever throw a small bet on somebody, because I'm called, and this isn't Homer, it's because I watched the kid play, and I think he's going to get a lot of minutes because the 76ers are one of those teams that always are plagued by injury, especially at the guard position. Jared McCain would be a great bet at 50,000 odds. You could put $5 on this man and clear out $5,000. It's worth the $5. Jarrett McCain.
When we were talking about the draft the week after it, or the day after it happened, I said on this show that Jared McCain was arguably my favorite value pick at 16, and that was an absolute steal by the Sixers. It was between him and Knecht at 17 for the Lakers. I think both teams nailed their picks back to back. And looking at him, watching him in Summer League, McCain looks comfortable. He looks really good. Looks comfortable attacking downhill, and that 3-point shot, he's got that too. I think he's going to be a great addition to this new look 76ers team.
I completely agree with you. Just wanted to bring that up.
No, that's fair. I'm always down to talk rookies or any kind of basketball. I'm super excited. I've started watching Cooper Flag, and I've started to try to get my draft board ready for next year. my goal is next year, wire to wire NBA draft show. However, I refuse to have one if I'm not ready for it because I don't want to be Stephen A. level clueless on draft night.
I'm down to do it with you, and I'll help you with a lot of college players because you know I'm on top of it.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that's my goal. Hopefully next year we can give you some quality NBA draft watch along. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Next year is a lot better class too.
Yeah. And to be clear,
it's a lot better class. Like college basketball. It's funny because there's every other year college basketball is back or it's not back, right? Next year college basketball is back. You're going to be watching a lot of college basketball next year. There's guys out of Duke and North Carolina. The top 2 draft prospects of this next draft are Cooper Flagg and Drake Powell. They're playing in the ACC against each other, and they're both wing players. You're going to see them play against each other multiple times. And the funny thing is, right now, the top 5 projected picks of 2025 are all college basketball players, not overseas players.
Yeah, you know what? I'll take it. I don't mind trying to scout overseas players, but sometimes it's a challenge trying to find the full games. I got to try to hunt down some pretty crazy websites to hunt down the full games for some overseas games. So overall,
I want to give you a name to look out for, and he's going to have ridiculous points because of where he's playing for this year. And it's a team to look out for this year. They won't be ranked, but I bet you they make the college basketball field of 64 and win a game because of this kid. And he's not listed top 2 in your draft boards. Remember the name Dylan Harper. He's local to New Jersey. He's local for me. He played for Don Bosco Prep. The kid's playing for Rutgers this year. He's a 6'6" guard, and he has a bag and a half. Dylan Harper. He's a combo guard. He's 6'6". He plays good defense. He's strong. He's got great size for his position. He's an NBA-ready guy, and I'm telling you right now, look out for him. His athleticism jumps out of the gym. Can he probably improve his jump shot a little bit? But he is great, and he's one of the best prospects you will see.
Sounds like a guy I could use on my Bucks.
Oh, bro, you would love this 6'6" athletic guard. You would love him. I'm telling you right now, you get Dylan Harper next year, the Bucks will be thrilled. Remember that name, Dylan Harper. We all know Cooper Flagg, right?
Yeah.
Dylan Harper's the second best player coming out next year's draft. And you remember on whatever day, this is June 11th, 2024, before any college basketball is played, Dylan Harper will be the number 2 pick in next year's draft.
Hey, you heard it here, guys. Dylan Harper, number 2 pick in the draft next year, or at least that caliber of talent. So I love it. I'll say, did you have any more questions, Gene?
No, sir. I was happy to hop on with you, man. It was really great talking basketball with you.
Yeah, no, I had a lot of fun. I always love talking hoops. Chad, if you guys don't have any more questions, we're gonna hop off. Like I said, thank you, Gene, for joining in. It was a ton of fun. I always like talking hoops.
Appreciate you guys all in the chat. Andre, Christopher Morrow, Derek Dempsey. I know I seen my man comment up there earlier. Open ocean ships. I mean, Brett almost said open shits, but that's okay. Godfrey, appreciate all you guys in the chat tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. If you enjoyed the show, we'll be back on next Thursday, 8 o'clock. And you can follow the And1 Facebook page, and then we also have an And1 Discord. So definitely look for more And1 content in the future, and check out the morning show tomorrow, 8 a.m. Get your morning started out the right way. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in, and have yourselves a good night.
Thank you for tuning in to the And1 podcast. If you like our content, you can find more on the Wire to Wire Podcast Network on YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify. Want more And1? Find it on Wire to Wire. Like and share our Facebook page, and join the And1 Discord. Grab the link to join from our Facebook. Thank you for tuning in, and have a wonderful day.